Welcome to the Clifton Worley Show. This week we have the Whirly Birds, Nick and Josh, and we want to just kind of cover some new territory. We got a lot of new stuff happening, and we just wanted to dedicate some space and some time to talking about that. Well, before we dive off into that, I just wanted to give a special shout out to Andy Kim from Sinusoid. It's his birthday, and we just want to celebrate with you, and I hope it brings all the happiness that you could wish for. So, Josh, you've got a lot that's been going on, and I want to give you an opportunity first to kind of just fill
Sure.
us in what's going on in your world.
Yeah. I had the chance for a couple weeks now to be playing Nick Bonger's pickups that he sold to me, that I bought from him. Man, I'm just loving those things. They've really changed my approach to playing. And really, I've been taking stuff off my board. I mean, I've been taking, let's see, I took almost everything off my board. I've got my delays, I've got my reverb, I've got my GT 500 and my tuner, and that is it now. After having all that stuff on my board, it's just like, well, I really don't need any of this stuff anymore. So that's been a big change on the electric side. On the acoustic side, I bought that Alto that I've been talking about, the Alto Trooper. It's a little three speaker plus a treble horn PA system all in one, and it's been massively changing the way that I've approached singing and playing. I've been just spending 15, 20 minutes a day with it pointing at my head at low volume and singing through it. And it's amazing to really, nail down mic technique because I never really sang with a monitor before. I've either used in ears or kind of just sang into the mic and hoped it sounded all right, you know, because I was kind of in that transitional phase where big church was using in ears. So when I would sing in big church, it would be in the main church, it would be the in ears, which is a very different feeling, and I prefer to have my voice out of those, and that because it's a weird to have your own voice pumping into your own head. Um, but like, and then at the uh, at the youth loft, we didn't bother to do monitors because it's not a huge room and we have it packed full of people, and the volume's high enough that I can kind of hear it. But it's been a huge difference because I kind of know where my mic sweet spots are now. Um, and what else? Man, I just had so much going on. I went to a circle jam, like the old time circle jam, and I haven't been to one of those in years where they play like fiddle tunes, and it's not really bluegrass because you're playing straight up tunes. You're not doing breaks. If you're, there might be they might hand the tune off to somebody else, but and so there were like four or five polkas going around and a bunch of the old fiddle tunes that they play a lot in bluegrass circles. And so that got me thinking, boy, I've got to get into learning to or freshen up my reading music. So I've been reading music all week, quite a lot too, to be able to learn these fiddle tunes and get ready for that. So that's kind of what's been new with me. So really, it's been a lot of playing, and then Great Lakes Pickups kind of inspiring me to play my electric, and then simplifying everything, kind of doing a Joe Bonamassa. Yeah. So that's been my big change this week. Yeah.
That's
Um,
awesome.
yeah. Yeah. I mean, for me, the biggest thing was probably, and it seems funny, but it's probably the alto, probably the
hmm
little PA, because, you don't really realize how how much having your voice coming at you, because you hear it in your own head and you think it sounds good, and then the first time you record yourself, you're like, oh my goodness. I mean, you guys have probably all had that experience, right?
hmm hmm
Where you where where like you hear it in your own head and you're like, man, I'm sounding good. And then you listen to the recording and it's like it's all pitchy and bitchy and crackling and
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, like I remember you telling me, Clifton, one time about that when that your first recording that you did of yourself.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Well, I haven't done a good proper recording in quite a while, but I do go back and watch, well, edit the services, the church services we do every week, and send them out to people, and that gives me a good chance to kind of critique what I did that week.
yeah.
And uh, man, for the longest, like I would go back and be like, man, my voice is so pitchy, and I got all these issues, and one of the things I've learned over time, and this just kind of reinforces what you said, is hearing yourself is a big deal.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
like in how you sing, and even, man, even guitar. Like, if you're playing rhythm guitar, a lot of times, like, you kind of know by muscle memory if you played this tune enough.
Hmm.
You can kind of maybe not hear yourself quite as good, but hearing yourself, period, as a musician is just such a huge part of you being able to execute and do what you need to do. Like, one of the things I learned in singing is, first of all, I've got to hear myself over the band. If I am really pushing it too hard, I
Yeah.
tend to have pitch problems.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the other thing is, I've learned if I'm not maybe put enough volume or effort out, like, and I'm not like, I told you this last week, I'm not like raising my eyebrows to hit the high notes,
Yeah.
then I'm always going to be flat.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I kind of have my thing is that I want to have that really straight, pure note when I
Mhm.
try to sing. And the
Mhm.
problem with that is that my voice doesn't want to do that. And so I kind of got to let go. And I think that the having that up in my ear like that, having that monitor up there nice and having it nice and quiet, that PA, it's like, okay, I can let go and still sound all right. I can
Mhm.
let go. I can let that natural vibrato come in and still sound okay.
Yeah.
Especially if I know that if I move a little bit over to the side of my mic, I can find a sweet spot for that note, and I can move back a little bit for the sweet spot for the high note.
Mhm.
And really having that right in my ear. And I don't. And it was funny because I haven't changed anything yet for like youth group yet, but just knowing where my sweet spots are on the mic and kind of remembering that. It's
Mhm.
like, okay, yeah, I know what I need to do. If I don't feel so confident about this note, I can move over a little bit. Or I can hit the button on
Yeah.
my mic mechanic and then the pitch correction and the reverb will kick in
Yeah.
for that note, which I do that a lot. I do that sometimes now too. It's really nice to have that to back up. It's like, okay, I'm not sure if I'm going to hit that note, or I don't think I've got enough juice on that chorus. So I'm just going to push the button. And then, okay, all of a sudden there's a little reverb and then there's a pitch correction that slides me into the note because it's like having a net that you don't really use very much, but you have the opportunity to use it, you know?
Yeah.
Yep,
Yeah. And
for
I
sure.
would say, I think I've heard it called working a mic. That's kind of the term I
Yeah.
always heard.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm always amazed that people can come in blind and just sing at a mic, and
Hmm.
not really know it. Like I don't think I can do that. I know that I don't have the right kind of voice to be able to do that. I mean, especially not to a 57 or a 58. I really can't stand those. Um, yeah. So Nick, have you ever even played around with that? Like just recorded yourself singing something and or recorded, or what about the first time you heard your recorded voice, just speaking?
uh, well, not really. Well, now the recorded voice thing, absolutely. Um, it was weird the first time I heard my voice, and I think it is for anyone. It's still weird for me to hear my voice. That's probably why I have such a hard time singing in general, even to myself. I think I sound really strange, so I don't really do it. I mean, other than like singing in the car and stuff. But I mean, if you ever actually heard yourself singing in the car, you'd probably never sing again. But the it's funny you guys mentioned like all this stuff sounds like really foreign to me. I had no idea it was that much work to sing somewhere. Like I thought you just walked up to the mic and started singing. But
No.
that's all I've ever seen. I guess I've never thought of the nuances of a musician knowing a microphone or their voice for that matter and how it impacts things. I've never seen the voice as an instrument. Um, I, but all I've ever been to is rock shows and stuff like that. So,
Well,
you
yeah,
know,
and yeah. But if you think about it, if you ever, I don't know if you've ever spoken into a 58, like what they use all over the place, the SM58s.
no, but I almost bought one the other day because I'm gonna
Don't,
buy. Don't buy one. I was
not,
actually gonna buy. I was gonna buy a 57.
don't. Yeah, don't. If you need to try it first, because they're very, They're very actually. I can do something here, and I can show you what they sound like. Um, I'm gonna do two things. I'm gonna turn this off here, and I'm gonna turn this up here. And when you're speaking in a 57, I mean Clifton probably knows this sound. That's basically what a 57 sounds like, or 58 when you're talking into it.
Hmm.
Can you hear that?
Yeah.
That's it.
Sounds terrible.
Yeah, exactly. It's not what. Then the reason why is because they have this big giant mid boost in
Mhm.
them, and so when people can sing in a 57 or 58, it's often because they have these. If you they have that changed singers when those things came out, and they were great mics for the time, but singers were really nasal then from that point on because that's what a 58 likes. A 58 likes a nasal tenor, or somebody who really like if you watch these guys with huge voices, they're singing with it way back. They're pulling that mic back, and they're giving their sound guy fits. But
Well,
yeah,
then
go ahead.
why do people use it then?
It's
Because they learn to
predictable,
sing around them.
and they're
Yeah,
bulletproof.
exactly. Yeah, they're bulletproof, they're predictable, and they learn to sing around them.
Yeah.
They sound. I mean, Clifton knows you got to do massive EQing on a 57 or a 58 to actually make it sound like a decent mic.
Yeah, but that's another principle, and I mean I'm really chasing a rabbit here, but learning how to dial that EQ in on the channel strip on the board is huge, and you do have to kind of understand how EQ works, kind of like with guitar, and what sounds good on voice and what doesn't. But once you get that and you dial it in, I mean, I'm so used to a 58 that that's what my ears are trained to hear, and I just work with it. That's kind of like a guy who plays a telly all the time. Like
Yeah.
they're just trained to do it, and they know how to get the sounds that they want to out of that guitar. Yeah, I've used a few others like Sennheiser and AKG
Yeah.
and Electro Voice, and I mean I can always kind of learn to get what I need out of them. Actually, for the longest time, and when I go out, I'll talk about this later. But like when I do like a field recording, those dynamic mics are great for rejecting a lot of unwanted noise. And cheap Audio Technicas is some of the best bang for your buck.
Yep. And the nice thing about the Audio Technicas is they do all that stuff, but they also give you a sound that you don't have to think a lot about.
Mhm.
Where I don't know. I guess if you're used to it, I think that's the thing. If you hear somebody who knows how to use one of those things, they sound good.
Yeah.
It's just that I think they're even more of an instrument. That's why I bought my Heil, because it's a flatter mic, and
Mhm.
it's actually made for podcasting and radio, but it's not a condenser. And so that's kind of why I bought that, because it's a little bit more idiot proof, and there's no proximity effect. Not so much where if you want to hit those low notes on a 58, you come up real close, and then it kind of swells, makes it bigger.
Mhm.
But yeah, I mean that's actually pretty interesting. Little conversation there.
So would you guys say that the SM57 and 58 is the tube screamer of microphones then?
Oh boy, that's good.
That's a good analogy.
That's really kind of perfect. Yeah, because there's people who really works for them, and most people it does, but a lot of people it doesn't, and I'm one of the people that doesn't.
So what would be the DS1 then?
The
Is that like the-
Sennheiser, what is
The
that,
bear-
508?
A Behringer karaoke mic?
No. If you're talking about DS1, it's like ubiquitous, and everybody can get a good sound out of it. Not a great sound.
Interesting.
But,
Interesting.
Yeah.
So if the tube screamer is, or the SM57 or SM58 is the tube screamer of the microphone world, then would you say that is it like the Stevie Ray Vaughan of the microphone world? Or did Stevie Ray Vaughan sing into one, maybe, with his boost? I mean, because you got to boost your voice if you're going to boost the mids on your guitar.
Yeah, no, I think if you're looking at tube screamer, yeah, okay, because it's ubiquitous. It's something that a lot of people that's kind of industry standard, right? That's
Yeah.
SM57, 58. I think that your Sennheiser E835s, your they're just easier. Your Sennheiser mics are just so much easier to dial in, and they just sound like they're meant for the human voice.
Yeah.
This is fascinating to me. I honestly, Like,
Did you expect it to be?
no, I really thought it was boring nerd stuff at first, and then now I'm like actually fascinated by it. Because the other day I was going to buy a Zoom H4, and I was going to get, I was with the intention of getting like a 57 or a 58,
Yeah.
for like podcasting or for, and double it as an instrument mic.
Yeah.
Because Guitar Center, somebody there had two, and he wanted like 50 a piece for them.
Yeah.
An SM57 and an SM58, and I don't know anything about microphones. I just assumed that
Well, that
I
was a
always
good
heard.
deal.
Yeah,
It's a good deal. I mean, there's nothing. I would say that for voice, I think that what I would do is I would go online, and that's what I did when I picked my mic, and when I picked the mic mechanic, I went online, I went to YouTube, and I just started watching videos, and I watched videos of people saying this is the SM57, this is the SM58. And the 57, they don't do a lot of vocal stuff for because it's meant as an instrument mic, but people do use it because personally I like that shape of the front, the flat front on it. I don't
Mhm.
like a round front on my mics, and that's why I'm using the Heil 2. But then I just listened to a bunch of videos, and eventually you could hear this EQ curve in the mics, in each mic, because you'll listen to one
Hmm.
video with one guy, and you'll listen to another video with another guy, and you'll hear this same sound, like this note or this frequency that's accented by that mic, because especially on YouTube videos, because usually they're not EQing that mic properly.
Mm-hmm.
You know, usually they're flattening it out, and they're not cutting. I mean, when I EQ a mic for the podcast, I'm dropping the mids, I'm dropping the highs, or I'm dropping the lows, and I've got the highs up a little bit to make it so that I sound like a normal person. But a lot of times with YouTube videos and with podcasts and stuff, they don't EQ their mics at all, so you can really hear the actual sound of the mic.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that,
Interesting.
You know,
yeah, I mean,
Ryan
I
and
would go and
Steve
listen-
use 58s right now. If you want to hear, like, that's what a 58 sounds like.
but they're really good at EQing that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't know. Like they just sound like they have good audio. I don't notice any like characteristics or anything.
Yeah.
But okay, so here, further on into this, like, so what about like bluegrass bands who all play around one microphone, or like the guys like one of my favorite bands is the Milk Carton Kids,
Yeah.
and those two guys. One of the interviews I saw with them, I think it was on Fretboard Journal. They were talking about how at first they just sung around a mic,
Yeah.
and then they figured out what a good mic was. Like they
Yeah.
went out and like spent big money on a good microphone
Yeah.
or a couple good microphones. And now are those ribbon mics? What are those? Like what kind of mic is that those guys all play through? Like that kind of wide spectrum, full spectrum mic.
That's a lot of times is condenser mic. Sometimes they use ribbon mics. There's differences. I haven't had a lot of experience with ribbon microphones, except I played guitar through one time. And I know that ribbon mics, you got to have like a really good preamp for those.
Yeah. That's where the tube preamp comes in a lot of times, right?
Mm-hmm.
But have you ever seen a bluegrass band, a really good bluegrass band, play around a single mic live?
Yeah, it's fascinating actually.
It's a dance. It's
yeah,
amazing.
they do.
Yeah.
They move in and out when they take leads and stuff. And I always thought that's just what you did. I mean, I even watched Nickel Creek do it.
Yeah.
Like they do the same thing. They'll move in and out, and it's like I just figured it was a performance. And then, but now that I think about it, you know, they're using it like almost like to boost certain elements of the music.
Yeah.
You know, they're not using anything. They're not plugged in or anything, so they're just kind of stepping in, stepping out, stepping in, stepping out, and then they turn it into kind of like a little show. And then it got to be choreographed because otherwise you'd be stepping all over each other. I mean, they're all huddled around a little mic. They barely have enough room for each other to play.
Yeah.
Which, if you look at it through that lens, you get a whole new respect for those kind of musicians. And it's the same with like the Milk Carton Kids. I mean, there's only two of them, but they're always moving in and out. Like when the one guy plays lead. In fact, I don't know if I can't think of Patton Gill, the guy that plays lead.
Okay.
If you ever heard the Milk Carton Kids, I had to pick up him one time, but they kind of moved. He kind of is like swaying, almost like he's a wah pedal or something. Like he's always moving the guitar neck like forward and back and kind of rocking with it. And when he hits certain notes, he'll pull back. And I always thought he just kind of had a tick, and that's the way he plays guitar. But I don't think so now. I think he he does that to add effects like extra tremolo, like tremolo effect or whatever to his playing. Where the other guy is rock steady. I think Joey is his name. I should know this, but yeah, he don't move at all. He sits perfectly still, and he's the still rhythm guy in the band. He never moves. He's the consistent singer and the consistent rhythm player, and that's probably playing too.
Well, if you think about it, when they're setting up their sound check, that's probably what they do. They probably find the sweet spot on the stage. They sit him right there, and they say, then he doesn't move, and now he's the bass of that band, right? And then the lead guy, he probably comes in and out, moves back and forth, and you move up and down to accent different. You just have to know the mic like an instrument, and I think that's kind of what people miss a lot. You don't just get up there and sing, with a mic. You know it. And you know where you need to be for that mic. If you look at, actually, that's another thing you want to look at if you're actually looking into getting, now that 5758 combo that you're looking at there, that's an awesome deal. $100 for 2 mics, that's killer.
You can't beat that.
But if you look at like there is a pattern. I don't know if you've ever looked in Shop Mics, but they show this picture of the pattern where the mic picks up.
Mm-hmm.
And every mic has a different pattern, and you can use that pattern. I'll take this. Let me see. I'll take my little protection off here, my pop protection, and you can use that pattern to get different sounds out of the mic. I'm just kind of going around the mic and getting different sounds here. And if you know that mic well enough, you can use that to accent and bring up weak parts and strong parts of your voice, which is kind of interesting. And that's one thing that if you just go up and sing to a mic, you're probably going to be too far away. You're probably going to be out of that mic sweet spot, or you're probably going to be in a spot that amplifies the worst part of your voice.
Yeah.
Because I sing straight on a mic like this. That's how I used to do everything, all the time, and it really didn't work for me. I have to sing off the edge of it to really do stuff.
You could be like totally like an open mic heckler where you could go to a show and be like, no, bro. The sweet spot, bro. The sweet spot, bro. No, to the left.
No. Go up a little bit.
Well,
this dude's hopeless.
I think going back to you're talking about the alto though, it's very important not only to have good mic technique but good monitor situation, whether it's coming out of a wedge, if you can hear what you need to hear in in-ears, or guitar amps, make sure you're hearing yourself good. I know, like, I played outdoors recently with our church band, and like we didn't have time to set up a good sound check before, like, by the time we had to start playing, and so we had to kind of tweak it as we went. And what I realized is where I'd set my floor monitor was way too close to where I was, and I was like missing all of that, and I couldn't hear myself very good. And it wasn't until I took my monitor, and it's designed this way, and kicked it back towards the front of the stage to where I was in the sweet spot of that monitor, where I could hear everything, but I wasn't like using all my wattage in my amps to push it. Yeah. And so you got to learn little tricks like that. Is how do I use this the best I can with what I've got, and positioning those monitors in the correct spot. And if you do those things, like, you'll play better, you can hear yourself.
Acres better, yeah.
Yeah.
It's very, very different than playing like in your I might move. It's very different than playing in your bedroom or your basement or your music room, because singing to a wall, which is what I used to do, so that I could hear it reflecting back at me. When you're singing singing and playing into a good set of monitors, a good PA, I mean, it's just acres different.
Going back to the mic thing though, I want to say, Nick, I could tell you what I like to use, but that doesn't mean that might be what you want to use. So you kind of got to find through trial and error a little bit what you like.
You got to go on your own journey.
Yeah, it's like a guitar journey or an amp journey. You got to go through a mic journey. And I've learned, like, podcasting Of course, when I record my voice, like if I'm singing and I'm trying to record it, I gravitate towards condenser microphones
Oh yeah.
because I can record on an SM58, but I found that it's harder for me outside of the live situation to get the sound that I like there. And what I found is if I'm up on a SM58 for it to get a good signal, and I have to, you get too much bass and mid in your voice, like if you're up on it to get the good signal. And I found that condenser mics, I can get away from it, a good foot away from my voice, and I can kind of hit a sweet spot, and I'm not in that huge thing where I'm bumping the bass with my voice.
Yep, that's that proximity effect that you
Yes.
almost always get with an SM58 or 57. On a 58 or on a 57, when you're recording a guitar amp, it's great because it keeps it from being tinny, because you put that speaker right on the mic, and it's not going to be right on the mic, and it's not so tinny.
Yeah. And they're awesome too when you're using monitors and you're playing real loud with bands. It rejects a lot of feedback noise and sound that's not right up on the mic. So they're perfect for, if you're gonna be playing live and your monitors are cranked, you don't need a microphone that's gonna pick that up.
No.
Because you're gonna create
But
a loop.
there's nothing like even an inexpensive stick condenser for recording vocal. I mean, it makes bad vocals sound good, and great vocals sound awesome because you can move it. You can get that room sound, and then it makes guitars sound so nice too to have a second condenser down a little bit lower, and aimed at your guitar. Man, they just sound so nice.
Yeah.
Well, and I was shocked that some microphones are like $1,300.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I was like, what? Like, or that might be for a pack. I don't know. But
No, there's single microphones that are like 5,000,
Oh,
dude.
yeah.
Yeah,
Like
I know. I'm
Neumanns and stuff.
You'll see, I'm totally out of my element. Like, so I cannot even imagine, like, and wouldn't you just like put it, like, lock it away in a box and never look at it until it was time to use it?
Oh yeah, yeah. That's why they don't leave the house, right? They got those big, and I think that Leon actually from Pelican Noise Works, he would be able to tell you all about that. I know there's ways you can take those MXL mics they have on sale at Musician's Friend all the time. You can like clip one thing and add a diode here or there, and then replace one. You replace one part that's like $10, and then you have a mic that's almost equivalent to like one of those $500 mics. I've heard of that.
Can you like wire a rat circuit in one?
I don't know why
Well,
would you
just-
want to, but
You know what you could do?
Why wouldn't you?
You could buy the cable with the rat built in. You could add an XLR on both sides of it, and then you'd be all set.
You could call it the Extreme XLR.
Yeah.
Extreme.
That reminds me when I was a kid and I used to run the microphones through my effects pedals. That was fun. Man, nothing like running a flanger and a distortion pedal.
So here's my other question. So can you stack microphones like an effects board? Like, can you take your Tube Screamer, your SM57, and put it in front of, like, I don't know, or a condenser mic and boost it?
you can multiple mic things.
Look at the old recordings of those old dudes, like in the old PA systems. They would have 4 mics on the lead singer. They would have all those mics taped together. Remember, like Stone's recordings or Stone's live shows or Hendrix live shows. He'd have like 3 mics lined up together. I wouldn't doubt if that's part of the reason. It was because they didn't have decent EQ on those boards.
How funny would it be if somebody had like a mic pedal board where it would be just mics and like mutes? So you could go up there and you could like sing and do all kinds of weird stuff. Like, you'd be like Tom York from Radiohead and like shake all over the place and like go back and forth between all the different microphones and like mute them and unmute them and mute them and unmute them and run it like a pedal board. Why isn't anybody? I just invented a music genre.
Well, I have seen guys use like a second mic, like as an effects mic. Like, say, like they're singing through one and they got like some part of the song that's like super distorted or whatever. They're running through some kind of drive pedal or whatever. I've seen them like pick up that mic and do something different with it.
I've seen like I've seen like people do like run a flange through it or like delays or stuff like just like you would like a keyboard or whatever. Or guitar or anything like that. I mean, I've seen people heard of people using DS1s to do weird stuff with their voices.
Yeah.
I can't remember what band that was, but it was some kind of raunchy band that was using weird stuff like that to get an effect. And to me, that's no different than like, you know, Scott Whalen from STP when he was using the megaphone,
Mm-hmm.
you know, to get that distancy, like stuff like that. So yeah, I don't know. That kind of came out of nowhere, guys. But
Good conversation.
yeah, it was
Yeah.
good because nobody really talks about mics at all. Like,
You wouldn't let us, Nick.
we
You kept
never
on
let-
saying, "Oh, why are we talking about mics?"
Does nobody want to hear about that? At least not, I
Yeah.
don't think so. We're a bunch of, you know, guitar nerds, and I mean, before this, I thought a sweet spot in the mic was just where the boogers were.
Well, that usually tells you where you want to be. You want to be like a little bit beside the boogers, because if the boogers are there, that means that that somebody sat there and sang through a sneeze. So
Oh
yeah.
god, I sang that. I saw that. Did you see that photo that somebody posted that one time with that mic that was just loaded up full of mucus? It was the most disgusting. Oh my god, I mean, it's making
Yeah.
me sick right now even thinking about it. That's terrible.
You
Like,
take
don't
off those filters, but if you buy a used mic, you take the screen right off and you clean it, dude.
Yeah.
No, you
The
don't.
whole
You don't.
thing.
You don't get it out of the box and lick it. Is that what you're trying to tell me?
Well, I mean, I guess you could. You could taste the mojo.
See,
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying. Yeah, exactly.
I'm
And when-
pretty sure I got sick from a mic one time.
Oh, I did too,
Yeah.
dude. That's part of the reason why I bought one is because the kids were always going up to my mic and playing with it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, now I'm sick. And then 2 weeks later, I get in there, and if a kid's playing with my mic when I get in there, I'm gonna be sick the next week. so,
Yeah.
so I buy my mic, I take it off. I take it off as soon as I'm done playing. You know.
and kids are flipping gross, man.
Yeah.
Well, and
Like-
these are 12-year-old, 13-year-old kids, so it's like even worse.
Exactly. And they know better, but they don't care. That's the thing. They're like, oh, I just sneezed in your mic. I'm not going to tell him about it, though. I'm also not going to wipe
Yeah.
it.
Building those immune systems. That's it.
Yeah,
There you
for
go.
sure.
But I guess, why did we never even covered my what's new, did we?
Mm-mm.
It's your turn, Nick. You're
Yeah,
up.
So, okay, so kind of what's new for me actually is that camping's starting back up because it's finally warm here in Michigan. We just had our first shoot with the MLA the other day, and you know, I took my guitar. I actually took my guitar and my mandolin,
That's nice.
and I was gonna play, and then I never did. You know, nobody did. Like it was just fun to see everybody, and everybody kind of came out of hibernation and was laughing and joking around, and you know, we just sat by the fire and laughed all night long. And sometimes you get that, you know.
That's
And
nice, though.
so I had a few days. I mean, I was playing pretty consistently before then. I play a lot. What usually happens is I play a lot of guitar through the winter. I there's not really much else to do besides write and play guitar, so that's pretty much what I do. And then we get busier as the summer comes on, and I start shooting my bow more, and I get outside more with the kids and stuff like that. So I play a little bit less, and I do a lot of noodling and just picking on the couch. But I didn't play after playing that guitar like pretty much nonstop since I bought it, my Recording King. You know, I didn't touch it for 3 or 4 days. So, you know, I got back in yesterday and I picked it up and played it, and I hit a chord, and took it out of the case and hit a chord, and I was like, whoa. I mean, it just like felt like just different. You know, like it's the best it's ever sounded. And today, same thing. I picked it up and I was playing it, and I was like, whoa, this thing is I think it's getting better. And now I think part of the reason is those, I told you guys I put retros on it.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought the retros were always the best when they first were opened and you got them on the guitar. But honestly, I think I'm just now like I'm hitting a sweet spot in them. Like they deadened a little bit, like they settled in. So they're not really a zingy string, but that kind of the top end came off them a little bit more almost. And it's got they're worked in perfectly. It's like I found the sweet spot in the string, and it's been like, I would say, I don't know how many hours or weeks I got into them, but I would say 3 weeks now, 4 weeks in.
Yep.
And
That's about
you
right.
know, yeah, and you know, they've been in a humidified case with that Oasis in it, and they're getting better, and it gets getting better. It's better than when I first strung it. It's playing great. I mean, it sounds awesome. In fact, I got my I was telling you guys I So I changed I did do a couple things since the last time we talked. I put in Taylor ebony bridge pins. That was an
Cool.
easy $12 upgrade. You know, I just popped those in, and instead of those plastic ones that are in there, man, did that make a difference.
What did it do?
It really just kind of it's hard to explain. I almost had, like, as you got closer to the bridge, you could almost tell that there was almost like a dead sound. Like it didn't ring out. It didn't open. It sounded compressed to me. It didn't sound open, especially when you got near the bridge, and picked near the bridge. But when I put the ebony in there, I noticed right away that the guitar opened up, like in a mellow way. It didn't get super synthetic or zingy sounding or trebly or anything like that. It just opened up. Like you could play closer to the bridge and the dynamics were better. At least it seemed that way to me. But and the thing is it's like, I'm not just saying that. Like, I just, I'm justifying the purchase. It's a $12 purchase.
Yeah, it's nothing, right?
As soon as I did it though, like, and I hit the first chord, I was like, whoa. I can't believe I know I'm not crazy. This opened up. Like, you could really, really tell. And I mean, all the high-end guitars have wood ones or bone ones or brass ones or whatever. So
yeah,
I think I'm a believer in that now. Like,
no,
and you go ahead.
No, I always wonder about that because it's so cheap. Those parts are so cheap. I don't understand why the cheaper brands, or why, because, like, I mean, my Martin came with Tusk ones, and then I put in my bone ones, and it was instantly a huge difference, And your Recording King, they could have added $6 to the price of it or $12 to the price of it, put those in, and then people will be like, this thing is like $1,000 guitar.
Well, right? I mean, yeah, they already did the bone nut and saddle, which is arguably way bigger,
more expensive.
Yeah, and they already put the solid woods into it. I mean, what's a few bridge pins? I mean, it's not. And then you can add. I mean, for the money, they could probably. I bet you they could add an extra $25 to their price, and people would buy it. And because nobody ever actually says, like, when you read guitar specs, they don't really talk about the pins. They talk about the nut and saddle and the solid woods. They don't talk about the bridge pins. Like, in almost every guitar, even the higher end ones, they don't say, oh, ebony bridge pins. It's like a given that you're getting wood bridge pins or you're getting Tusk bridge pins or whatever you're getting. But it's almost like it's an afterthought. And I'm here to tell you that for me, like, I'll never have a guitar that doesn't have it. In fact, I like to experiment. I'd like to pop Tusk ones in there and see how those sound, or bone ones, or even try brass, except brass are so expensive. Usually if you want a set of brass pins, you're paying like $35 or something like that.
Yeah, I had brass in an Ibanez that I had, a really nice solid wood Ibanez, and I tried the brass ones, and they were too bright. They were too bright for me.
And I'm not really going for that in this guitar or acoustics in general. Like, I do like a bright guitar, but I mean, I like bright in a good way, where that seems almost like
too. It made it pingy. Like, it was bright, and it would kind of be a really sharp attack at the start, and it almost died off like a banjo. So I took them right back out and put in my and I ended up giving them to a student years later. But I took them right back out and put in my plastic ones, and I liked them better, because if I like plastic better than brass, it's like, yeah.
It's almost the same. It's funny you mentioned that, because I had a Telly at one time with the barrel brass saddles, and I put a brass nut in it. And I was in a Buddy Guy, and I really wanted to try this brass nut. And you're right, the harmonics were popping, and it was really pingy, but the decay was definitely different.
Yeah,
like, it wasn't unnatural.
It wasn't natural.
Yeah, like you struck a tin can.
Yeah, like, which isn't a bad sound.
No, and I mean, the way he plays it makes sense, and plus he plays so light that I could see why he would want to do that. Yeah. But on an acoustic, that just doesn't seem natural to me. I remember remember those things they had power pins.
Yeah, I almost bought some of those. Yeah.
Well, it's kind of like that. Like, I don't know. I think bone would be interesting. I'd like to try bone, but right now I thought, well, wood is warm. I want to go with these ebony ones, and I'm really happy with it. But between that, so I did that, and then the guitar sounds so good right now. Like, I'm going to change I actually ordered I found a set of brand new Grover tuners with chrome with ebony buttons on them.
Oh man, those are sweet.
And $25 shipped.
Nice.
This guy ordered them for the shop, ordered them for a guitar, and they never used them. And I jumped on it. Now they're in a box in my room, and this is the longest I've actually waited to do anything to a guitar. I'm waiting for the strings to die because right now the guitar sounds so good. I'm not touching this guitar until the strings are completely. I want to see how far I can go with these retros before I have to change them. Because if they die
down, and that's when you need to replace them. They'll quiet.
Yeah. But right now, I would say that I'm pretty happy 3.5 weeks in, 4 weeks in with the way they sound right now, and I mean I'm playing almost every day. I mean I just missed those 4 days where I was camping, but you had huge humidity spikes there. We've been dry enough for half of Newaygo right down the road for me to burn down, and to sopping wet with floods. And different temperatures. We've been all over the place crazy, and those strings have held up super well. I know they're naturally corrosion resistant, and they're great.
They don't get grody. They don't get grody at all.
They don't, and I've hardly had to wipe them down either.
Yeah.
The only thing I can see where they're actually wearing is I play with the finger picks and metal finger picks and a plastic thumb pick, and you can see where they're wearing there.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's kind of funny. You can see where I pick.
Yeah.
Like you can see like the little indents on the strings and the scrapes, like where I pick. So you can look at my guitar. Bit, yeah. But my dad was cracked. My dad picked up the guitar, and my father-in-law picked up the guitar a couple weeks back. And I'm like, I gave it to him. They're like, "What is that?" I'm like, "It's a Recording King," and they played it, and they're like, "Wow, this thing's nice." And I was like, "Yeah, I know, right? Like it's legit." And they said, "Well, what kind of strings are these? Why didn't you put acoustic strings on?" I'm like, "Those are acoustic strings." I'm like, "They're just not brass, or bronze. They're nickel." And they were like, "Wow, I've never heard of that before." And I said, "Yeah." I'm like, "I'm telling you, and if you run a mag pickup, that's what you want." But they feel like an acoustic string. They don't feel like you just stuck a heavy gauge of electric on a string or on a guitar, on an acoustic guitar. It's not like that. But I know I keep really touting these Martins, but I think I'm just gonna have to I finally found the gauge I want to. I'm using a 12 to 54.
Okay.
Nice.
And I'm tuning to Open E, and that's been perfect.
Nice.
And the only reason why I tune to Open E is because I like to capo to the 3rd fret and have my G there.
Yeah.
And then capo to my 5th fret and have my A there. Yeah, I think that's A, right? Yeah.
I think it's easier on the strings too, probably, to tune to Open E than to tune to something way outside of it.
Yeah, and I flipped it down to D, and I thought, I'm going to go back to D, and I hated it.
It doesn't. I don't think that body can handle D quite so well.
No, it was muddy. Everything was rattling. Like it didn't sound right.
And that's why you like it, because it's lightly built, dude. You can't go that low. You can't go that low there.
You can't go that low there. No, I've really come to I used to play an Open D all the time, and I'm to the point now where I just like Open E. For one, if I'm jamming with people, it's easier to figure out E. Like it's
sure.
More people who play in standard are in E tuning, and if they're playing around the 3rd fret, I know they're in G. So that helps me navigate the fretboard better. When I'm watching people playing videos, and play a song, and I want to play along with them, I know where they are because I'm just tuned to Open E. The fretboard's not changing. So that's actually pretty cool. So, but anyway,
sure.
That's what's new, guys. I really, honestly, I did get a wah. My dad gave me a
what?
A wah. My dad gave me a Dunlop. Well, actually, mine doesn't just go wah. It goes what?
Like old Tim Taylor.
Because I got the Jim Dunlop 535Q, which my dad and I have had for years, and it's rad. I mean, we've always liked it. The battery door is broke, and one of the reasons why he gave it to me is he's like, I can't stand the fact that I got to run 2 9-volts in this thing and unplug it all the time. And I've got that K line, and I've got a 12-volt connector on the K line. So it's perfect for me. I've got no problem with it. It's so I really want to try that wah, because I always really did like that wah pedal. In fact, it's still set the way I had it set. And I was trying to go for that clapped and cocked wah sound and I had it kind of dialed in, and I left it alone. You do everything on the bottom on that pedal, and I mean it's built like a tank.
Yeah.
And it's got those settings. I like that knob that's got the settings on the side, so you can adjust like if you want a little more or a little less or whatever you want to do. So the only thing is I built that little board with my laptop case, and now I got this big wah pedal. So it doesn't fit in the laptop case, and I'm really bummed about it. But the cool thing is I've got all this underlayment left over from doing my kitchen. So I think I'm just going to take the underlayment and cut exactly what I need and kind of redo the inside of that laptop case. And I might have to drop a pedal, but I could fit that wah in there and use it. Because for some reason, I'm really digging the fact that I can fit all my pedals in a wah case.
And a
I
laptop
think
case.
or not a laptop case. Yeah, I think that's pretty cool. It's highly convenient. My
a
buddy,
lot of people pull their wahs out and put them beside their board anyway because it's more comfortable. So I
Well,
mean, it
that's-
wouldn't be a weird thing.
yeah, and well, the other thing is too is that the laptop case kind of comes up, like there's a lip, so that probably is going to mess with your wah playing. So right now, yeah, I got it laying right outside I got it outside the case, and yeah, I've been really having I just haven't really played electric, which it kind of sucks because I don't even think I've had a chance to talk about this yet, but Bongers actually he repaired one of my pickups. He repaired that neck pickup I had.
Yeah.
And he wired it. He just kind of repaired it. He didn't do anything special to it, and he sent it back to me, and we didn't know what was what. So you had to he figured all the diagram out for me, because the problem was I didn't know what the lead was. So we had it narrowed down, and one of them was so that the guitar would be, he goes, you'll know it because it'll be out of phase if you wired it in the middle position if you wire it wrong, and then just switch it. Well, I did. I wired it wrong, and the middle position's out of phase, and I love it. I'm not changing it.
Go.
'Cause I hardly ever play it. Like, I'm either in the bridge or I'm in the neck, and then in the middle I get this awesome like Peter Green thing going now, which is almost like having the wah pedal on a little bit, and like that's a whole new realm of like I had to have that there. 3 usable positions and the middle one's totally different is pretty awesome.
Yeah.
So I just got to get back in the mood to play electric again is basically it. I mean, I'm playing this Recording King so much that I'm just haven't been playing anything lately with my electrics. But I will. I go through phases.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
including out of phase now. No, I'm out of phase. But yeah, that's it, guys. I mean, that's a lot, but more than I thought, actually. But yeah, a lot of really good, cool musical stuff going on at the moment.
So what's new with you, Cliff?
Well, several things. Last week, we had a night of worship at our church and had Chris Sly. Some of you guys may know Chris. Came in and he led that, and I got to hang out with Chris a good bit and talk with him and kind of pick his brain. First of all, had a really awesome time. We connected with some local musicians. We had like some of our church musicians, and then we brought in some guys who were good players in our community, and that was a lot of fun. And I think going forward, I would love to do that, work with those guys some more, kind of see where that goes. So, and the church seemed to really enjoy that, so that was cool. And then talking to Chris again, it really got my itch to write going again. Like, I'm kind of having a desire to get back into that and kind of stretching that muscle. And so I'm kind of anytime I go through something like that, it's like a shift for me, and I kind of lose interest in some of the things I'm doing at the moment. And so I haven't been playing a lot of like electric guitar. And part of that's because my telly, it got wired in that jack in it, what it's called, the electro socket. And when I did, like something, I don't know what I did, but something in it is like humming now, like a ground has been disconnected, and and I haven't been able to spend the time to trace that down. So I haven't been playing electric at all lately. So I've been mainly kind of playing acoustic in my office and stuff, and but yeah, I'm getting that itch to start, kind of journaling again and writing, and so I know you've been on that journey, Josh, and so I don't know. I think I'm gonna be starting that journey soon myself.
Awesome.
Yeah, so that, and then next week I'm getting ready. It came up on me fast. I'm going out to one day in Tracy, California. Be out there with Co Schneider. He runs one day. There's a guitar exhibit that Jonathan Fellows is curating at like his local theater. I think it's going to go for like a month. But on the opening night, they're going to have a blues concert and set up in it. Co's going to have his one day displayed there that evening for everybody coming in. And so really excited to kind of see how one day works. This is going to be my first opportunity to check that out. And he's got a really great lineup of just some awesome boutique guitars that's going to be there. And so yeah, gearing up to go do that. The Tone Jerks are coming up with Co from San Diego.
Oh yeah, there you go.
Yeah, and so I'm excited about getting to see them again. I briefly met Brian and Kyle at Naom at the pizza party, but it was so brief. It was just basically an introduction, and I didn't get to hang out with them much. And so I'm looking to kind of get to know those guys a little better, and I think it's going to be a fun time. And maybe
Yeah, for sure, man.
Yeah.
I didn't mean to cut you off, Cliffy. Sorry about that, but I love that show. I want to hate that show, but I love that show.
well, they do cuss too much for me, but
Well, they're like the anti Clifton show. The opposite Clifton show. the dark Clifton show, the Sith Clifton show.
Yeah.
It's like what is it, like Parallel Universe Clifton?
Yeah. But
Only
It's
not like
Clifton
Clifton.
Curly.
Only that's funny. Only not like Clifton at all. Neither of those guys are like Clifton at all. Anyway, that's a shout out to that show, the Tone Jerks. If you guys want a show that's totally different than ours, that's your show.
well, and I enjoy listening to that. They're great storytellers, and they've got a lot of camaraderie, because they've been friends, I'm assuming, for quite a while and played in bands together. And so there's a good chemistry there in their show.
Mm-hmm.
And it's fun to listen to. So.
Oh, for sure. And their guests have good stories too. They kind of have, if you're at all interested about the life of a punk rocker, like, I'm fascinated when I listen to that show. And that's why. Like, they really do, like, I keep going, what? Like, who would want to do that? But it's really, really funny.
Ska is better than punk anyway, so.
Oh, jeez. So
which I'm gonna post on their page. That sounds good to me.
That'll be like, Cole will like triple like that if you do that. So Clifton, I cut you off. Well, what were you saying, man? Were you finishing your thought on one day?
Yeah, I was saying that gonna get to hang out with them, and then I'm gonna be in the Bay Area starting that Thursday, trying to kind of figure out what I'm gonna do that day, and then I'll be traveling over to Tracy on Friday, on the 18th, and then I think on the 19th, Jonathan Fellows just put up his brand new shop, and he's kind of having they're going to do a mini one day there, and that'd be kind of cool to see what Jonathan's got going on there. I got to play one of Jonathan's guitars at Naom. He brought it to the pizza party, and like everybody walked out to the parking lot, and he busts this bad boy out. It's this beautiful orange guitar, and he's got like the pick guard and the hex stock like match, and it's just this beautiful like figured like bird's eye maple, and he's got this incredible color, and he was telling us like how he got this color and everything. And then when I was at Cowerfest, I actually met Jonathan for the first time last year. It's been about a year since I went to Cowerfest, and he had a Jazzmaster that I absolutely loved that he had built like for I think his worship leader, but like he wasn't done with it, and he brought it like and let everybody check it out, and it was just beautiful. This guy, he does beautiful work, and I can't wait to see kind of what he's got going on, and I think he's going to be cranking up soon and making some more guitars, and so excited about that. But what I was going to say, and I don't know if we have any Bay Area listeners for our show, but if you do, definitely let me know, and I'd love to hang out and try to meet you and while I'm out there, and just message me, and I'd love to set something up, maybe go grab some lunch or something like that. And so, yeah, so go check out One Day. I know he's got the One Day Show on Instagram, and Co does, and you can check out and get the details there, all the times and the locations, and so it's going to be good, and I can't wait to report back about it. And so hopefully we'll catch some good content there, maybe between three. Co's on the Flippin' Flippers. He's half of the Flippin' Flippers, and got the Tone Jerks there. So hopefully we'll catch some good content for you guys. And so yeah. Before we close out, I just want to remind you guys we've got a new website. The CliftonWorleyShow.com. Go check that out. Nick and Josh have been helping me out with that, and it's looking really good. And since I don't know how to make websites very well, but that's their forte, and it is looking really good. And appreciate you guys for helping out on that. But yeah, go check that out. And then also, if check us out on Instagram, Clifton Worley Show, and then go like our Facebook page. But we've also got the Clifton Worley Show group on Facebook, and that's where a lot of our conversation happens. And so be part of the conversation, and tell us what mic you use, and we'd love to discuss with you. We'll talk to you guys later.